Hello and welcome to a special edition of Fired Up. I'm your host for the show, Bob Irwin. We're broadcasting live from Rigel Studios here in Las Vegas, Nevada. Fired Up is on our website, firedupwithbobirwin.com, and on the American Guns and Glory Network, separately on YouTube and numerous other media. A new show is broadcast every Thursday at 5 p.m. Pacific Time. The audio feed is rebroadcast for radio listeners Saturdays at noon. On the Nevada Talk Network, you can check out KELY1230.com for the stations that are in your area, all over Nevada, working on one in Clark County at the moment. If you have questions or comments, you may send an email to bob@firedupmail.com. Again, that's bob@firedupmail.com. And if you leave contact information, leave a message on my recorder, you can do that too. It's 702-257-1060. Again, that's 702-257-1060. Please leave your contact information. I do not automatically record incoming phone numbers, so if you don't leave a number, I can't recontact you. This particular episode is to update our listeners on this week's dramatic threats to the Second Amendment rights that the Democrat Party caucuses and primary elections have caused. There are now, especially as of this morning, only two choices available for the Democrats. Just as we were I was putting the show together, the other woman resigned, apparently looking for a seat with Bernie Sanders' campaign. Anyway, one of the choices is Senator Bernie Sanders. He is a true believer communist who believes that no one but the government should possess firearms. We have a few people that agree with him, that are backing him up. The other is ex-Vice President Joe Biden, who has decided to eliminate all firearms in the hands of the citizens of the United States. If you followed his recent, Biden has gone as far as just now, which is really what caused me to write this show, has gone so far as to promise former presidential candidate and ex-congressman anti-gunner Beto O'Rourke a White House cabinet position to be in charge of gun elimination policy when Biden is the president. You followed, I'm sure, the young ex-congressman's career when he was running for office, brushing his teeth on the air and running his skateboard up and down and whatever. He's a clown, and he is going to have a cabinet position that puts him in charge, as Biden said, of eliminating all these guns. My guest today is California and Nevada attorney Donald J. Green. Don, I remember we spoke a little bit on the phone. First, a little bit of your background, if you would.
Well, thanks. Bob, again, it's a pleasure being on this show and all of your other shows. My name is Don Green, and the focus of my practice is primarily dealing with firearms and related issues. Everything from being a part of the legislative process, testifying before various committees in Nevada, in our state Senate and our Assembly, being involved in litigation in Nevada and in California, to street level law, where we're actually in the courtroom every day fighting firearms issues, to this morning. We've got major firearms trials coming up. And we also deal a lot with interpretation of the laws and appearances at gun shows to provide the citizenry the most current points on the law as it pertains to Nevada and Californians. You can reach me on my cellular directly at 702-409-8239. Thanks, Bob.
Don, I know that you have done, because we spoke earlier today, a lot of research on the bills that are waiting for votes in Congress, particularly in the Senate, but several of them in the House. that will literally end up destroying the Second Amendment, in my opinion.
Yes.
I'd like to ask you to detail a few of those, and I'll comment back here and there, but you're the expert in this legal part. I'm just expert on ranting for today.
Well, thank you. Well, Bob, primarily, these are the bills which impact your listeners and viewers. There's a bill in the Senate on the reciprocity. That's been pending since 2016. The Senate, national reciprocity for concealed weapon permits. It's been bogged down in the Senate. It's just not going anywhere. Now, yes, we did have some problems. You had the nominations of 2 Supreme Court justices. You had the trial of President Trump in his impeachment proceedings, for which he was entirely successful and acquitted. So that bill's just stuck there. And then you've got Dianne Feinstein's bill, which is labeled as the Safe Streets Protection Act. And what she wants to do through her group of Democrats, which includes both Senators Castro and Senators Rosen from the state of Nevada, what they want to do is essentially identify a list of hundreds of firearms, some of which are semi-automatic and they accept magazines, some of which are actually the old clip loading, like in a Garand, which are semi-automatic. And what they've done is they want to eliminate these and to tax them, and for these taxes to be so incredibly high, or to, when they eviscerate them, when they get rid of these firearms, what they want to do is put the money into schools to make schools safer. Well, everybody wants our schools to be safe, but not at the expense of firearms. I mean, they're not doing this for cars. They're not doing these for baby cribs. They're not doing it for the flu. Just this year, 4,500 people have died in the United States on the grounds of the common flu. That is over 100 times more than people actually shot, and over 1,000 times more than the people who are actually being killed by firearms in Nevada since the beginning of this year. The other bills which are in Congress are bills to eviscerate protections under the Second Amendment by, again, the Senate. Democrats presenting a bill which would tax the ammunition, and some of the ammunition would be taxed as much as 50%. And don't think that they can't do it, because I don't know when's the last time you went to buy tires at Walmart, but you see that little, when you go down the itemization of the tires and you see excise tax. We've had excise taxes on tires since the 50s, since the Eisenhower administration. And nobody complains about those taxes, but they're extra taxes just for the hell of it. And you're going to see that on firearms, and you're going to see that on ammunition. You see, so these are the primary bills which are bogged down in Congress. And if the Republicans take over the Senate, if they take over the House, you can bet your last dollar that these are going to be presented and they will pass. And then, of course, they'll be submitted to the president. And we hope it's Trump who would veto it. Then you'd need a 2/3 majority of the Senate to overcome that.
It's going to be a fight, however you look at this. And I've got to reiterate that the way this is defeated is you vote. People get out and vote. Get your friends to vote. Most of you know I'm fairly heavily involved in conservative politics and sit on a few boards and this and that. And we've had a lot of discussions. I had a lot of people approach Don and I at gun shows telling me that they're going to take their rifle and they're going to go up in the hills, or they're going to drive to Utah and take the Mormons' food. I think there's a few Mormons on that highway that will want to not let you do that. That is not the solution. The solution is to vote the bastards out of office. We're on the internet, so I can say that.
Yes.
Right? These people are planning to destroy the United States of America as it exists. If either one of these clowns become the president, and their coattails put people in the Senate and in the House that will agree with them, I don't think that is really, really likely. I expect Trump will prevail. Don't count on that. We have a lot more going on that the country will never recover. It will never recover from this election if Donald Trump loses. So you must get out and vote. We're going to break here for a brief word from some of our friends and associates. We'll be right back. Freestyle Martial Arts, located at Jones and Russell here in Las Vegas. You can reach them at 702-551-9009. That's 702-551-9009. CCS Gunsmithing. Chris Eifelt, the man who does all the NRA help, he's at 2216 South Rainbow Boulevard near Sahara. He can be reached at 702-365-1732. Once again, 702-365-1732. Jerry Creed, a trust attorney. If you have a firearms trust or need one, this is your guy. You can reach Jerry at 702-806-7777. That is 702-806-7777. CCW Maggie is found all over the internet. You can reach her by phone at 702-375-5900. That's 702-375-5900. All sorts of firearms training, ladies only classes. She is the best of the best. Call CCW Maggie. And we are back. I encourage you, when you see those friends and associates of ours, that you patronize them. The solution to these problems, from my perspective, is voting. There has been a lot of talk at the gun shows and by some people who I think are going way too far, that, you know, they're going to hide their guns and they're going to shoot at the cops and they're going to go up and live on Mount Charleston, or they're going to go, you know, live out of their recreational vehicle in Wyoming someplace. The solution to this problem we have is voting. You must vote. That's how we do it in the United States. We vote the bastards out of office. There is no other rational way around it. Now, Don, I know you've been gotten some letters recently and been doing a lot of research on this. He's been following up on a couple of these things that just came in the last day or two. So I'd like to turn it over to you and what's going on in Congress.
Okay. In Congress, we've got several bills that are, all of them are fortunately bogged down in a good sense until we get some further, find out what's going to happen with the Senate races and the congressional races at the end of this year. Primary one in Congress is the reciprocity bill. That's been sitting there since 2016 with revisions in 2017 for national reciprocity. It's been bogged down because of the Senate hearings on the confirmations of Judge Gorsuch and Kavanaugh, and then the impeachment proceedings. I'm sure it will come up very soon. The next one is Dianne Feinstein, you know, senator from California. Her version of a Safe Streets Act for schools. Actually, what it is a anti-gun, get rid of gun, and a super gun tax, where she has listed, her and her staff have listed literally hundreds of types of rifles and pistols, some of which we would classify as, you know, World War II vintage, like a Garand, which is a semi-automatic 30 caliber, 30-06 round with a 5-round clip that you slide in from the top. Well, these weapons would be either illegal or would be taxed under this law, which has an admirable end game, and that is to provide money for safe schools. Everyone wants our schools to be safe, but not at the expense of firearms. We don't see this kind of tax on automobiles, and over 60,000 Americans are killed each year in automobile accidents. hundreds of times more, thousands of times more than those killed with firearms. We also have almost 80,000 cases of flu in 2019 of people hospitalized, of which almost 6,000 people died. I don't see these massive energy from the government to try to outlaw the flu or to do something about it other than telling people to get flu shots, for which they can't go to Walgreens because they can't afford the shots. Or if they are free, the particular public agencies are probably inundated, just like this morning on the news. They said there are not enough coronavirus detection kits to go around the United States. So they're looking at something which the Democrats have been harping on since 2016. And in this, we've got a significant change in ATF policy, which may affect the state of Nevada, I think, because this may be something in our legislative session which is going to be proposed. On March 3rd, 2020, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms sent a detailed letter to all federal firearms licensees in the state of Michigan. Here's the point. From now on, all persons who are purchasing firearms from federal firearms licensees in the state of Michigan shall undergo a background check, even if that person has a current and valid concealed pistol permit issued under Michigan law. Now, we all know that under Title 18 of the United States Code, Section 922, there has been a long-standing stated policy and a code of federal regulation and a federal statute which says that as an alternative to a background check, a person who has a valid state-issued concealed firearms permit does not have to undergo a background check, because that permit is the functional equivalent of a NICS, that's National Instant Crime Center check that we all know as NICS. That's been the policy. Now, here's the problem in Michigan. Apparently there was some kind of FBI audit or some kind of ATF audit which showed that there were a number of cases up from 2019 until 2020 in which several applicants for firearms actually had convictions for battery, domestic violence, and or were current users and abusers of marijuana, including people who had marijuana cards. When the ATF found out about this, looked at his policy, revamped it, there was this immediate letter, which is effective immediately in the state of Michigan, effective March 3rd, 2020, that all concealed firearms permit holders shall undergo background checks regardless of the validity of that concealed weapon permit. I can see this changing in Nevada, that Nevada would be able to change the Nevada revised statutes and say that all persons shall undergo a background check regardless of whether you've got a current concealed weapon permit issued under the Nevada revised statutes. So I see that coming, Bob.
Of course, where we have federal law and state law at odds with each other, who always wins? The federals win. We have a state here where that we say in our state, stupidly, that marijuana is legal. You can buy marijuana, tourists buy marijuana, you can go in if you're 21 years old and whatever, you can buy marijuana on the street. And do the feds still arrest people for possessing marijuana in Nevada? Yes, they do. Right now, they're going after major dealers or importers. What makes you think that somebody in the new administration under Bernie Sanders and or whoever, Joe Biden, will not decide, well, you know, we're applying the law unequally, which they are. One of the founding legs of the United States is the law is applied equally. We demand it. We want Hillary Clinton to be called to task for things. If we apply the law equally, and that's what we conservatives are for, are they going to go after the casual marijuana user? They do already. If you have a medical marijuana card, a dealer cannot sell you a firearm.
That's correct.
Legally. Some do because there's a dispute in the law right now, but that's going to disappear in a hurry. As I said earlier, the solution to this is voting. We have to win this election in Nevada. We have to win this election nationally. If you don't vote, it's your fault. You've got to get out, register to vote, and vote in this next election. It is crucial for America. It is crucial for the state of Nevada. We're going to give you a brief word from some of our friends and associates. We'll be right back. Attorney Donald J. Green, a common guest of mine on Fired Up. He can be reached at 702-409-8239. He specializes in gun case litigation. He is your man. Don Green, 702-409-8239. At Ricardo's Restaurant, where you'll usually find me eating lunch every day if I can get there, they're at the corner of Flamingo and Decatur here in Las Vegas. You can reach them at 702-227-9100. That's 702-227-9100. And Battlefield Vegas, my new kind of home for this show. They're on Circus Drive, directly behind the Circus Hotel and Casino. You can find them there with CCW classes and an amazing place for gun rentals, everything you could possibly imagine. Check out, if you're in town as a tourist, check out battlefieldvegas.com. One more thing Don wanted to bring up on these issues, and here we go.
Here's some good news after all this depressing news that we've been talking about today. In the year 2019, according to the Federal Bureau of Investigation, there were 28.4 million background checks for firearms. That's what, 2.5 million a month? That beats the previous record of 2016 of 27.5 million background checks in a heavily contested election year, and I think we're going to see that this year. I think this year will probably exceed both of those. But in 2020, so far, there have been 1.1 million background checks in the year 2020 in January and February. Now, 1.1 million divided into 60 days, that's a lot per day. 7 days a week, and they're not open 7 days a week, but we do have, gun shows which are open, on Saturdays and Sundays. So that's encouraging because you have a populace. Now that doesn't mean that all these people are getting the firearms, but we can say that probably there's a sufficient number of the majority of these people who are probably getting their firearms, so that there's some good news there that citizens are using lawful means to obtain firearms, which generally in our practice, Bob, we see a lot of that. We of course see the worst in all of this as well. Additionally, for Nevadans in particular, I would like to have Nevadans be very, very aware of the following. Under the new background check law, antique firearms are exempt from background checks if those firearms meet the specific criteria and definition in Title 18 of the United States Code, Section 922, subsection A, subsection 16. Now, the firearms have to be have been manufactured in 1898 or older, or replicas of such firearms which do not use centerfire ammunition or rimfire ammunition, or do not use ammunition which is not readily available in the United States. So that's some good news there.
We are unfortunately running out of time. I would like to remind everybody that we'll be back next Thursday at 5 Pacific time with a little bit more standard show. A couple of things. You can check out our recent shows at firedupwithboberwin.com. It contains the recent shows, 20 or 30 of them on there now. I can't keep up with it. please patronize our friends and supporters. They are putting up the time and some of the money to put these shows on the air, and I'd like to see them all succeed. My merchandise that I used to sell online and sell at the gun shows is now for sale over the counter at Battlefield Vegas, directly behind Circus Circus on the Strip. And one other thing, I listened to a speech just the other day from Wayne Allen Root, if you're all familiar with him, and he has his shows appear on a website called Politic Chatter. It's POLITICHATTER.com. I'm going to attempt to move episodes of Fired Up over there. Everybody knows I'm not computer literate. I have to find somebody to help me do that. But that website has people that can do that. And it has a lot of very good conservative commentators on it, and they tell me it's a great website to be on. I've looked at it, and it's great. So we will see you next Thursday. I've got you coming back, I believe, Mr. Green.
Thank you.
And we'll be back next week. Thank you so much for tuning in to Fired Up, particularly when I go off on a rant. The election matters. Register and vote, please. We'll see you next week.
Thank you again, Bob.